You're listening to Puma Podcast.
There is deception of information. If you're going to see, let's promote a smoke-free Philippines. It's all over social media, and that is one of those tobacco industry, okay, smoke-free, because they are the ones who are marketing the heated tobacco products. Go to the malls, and you're going to see promoting a smoke-free Philippines. For the young who doesn't understand, oh, it's not smoking. It's an alternative. No. What is their tagline? You have a choice. Vice should not have a choice. Vices should not be part of a child's life.
I'm Bella Perez Rubio, Puma Podcast, and you're listening to Teka Teka News. The Philippines was once again called out at the Tobacco Control Conference for protecting the tobacco industry rather than consumers. In this episode, we sit down with a health advocate who walks us through these recent events and debunks disinformation about the many products marketed as safer alternatives to traditional cigarettes.
And Dr. Riz Gonzalez, a pediatrician who chairs the Philippine Pediatric Society Tobacco Control Advocacy Group since 2017. We, as health advocates, want to protect our children from the harmful effects of cigarette, the secondhand smoke, and then before, it was just the emerging e-cigarettes. But now it is really the big threat. We have been working through legislation since 2017 to enact proper laws to protect the children's health and their environment.
I spoke to Dr. Riz Gonzalez shortly after the Philippine delegation earned its fifth Dirty Ashtray Award at a yearly United Nations meeting for tobacco control. But what does that mean exactly?
The conference of parties who are involved in the FCTC, that's the Framework Control and Tobacco Convention, is actually an annual endeavor to monitor every country's effort on tobacco control laws, and that covers even the new products, the e-cigarettes and the heated tobacco products. Now, unfortunately, yes, our Philippine delegation has representatives that are tobacco industry friendly. Very, very sad. It is so supposedly to be composed of health advocates who should be fighting for laws that will protect the children from the products and also from industry interference.
The Dirty Ashtray Award is handed out by the Global Alliance for Tobacco Control, a civil society watchdog group. They called out a majority of the 30-person Philippine delegation for promoting the tobacco industry's agenda at the UN conference.
You will see those personalities who had really has an impact on the controversial vape law that was passed in July during the turnover of the president.
The Philippine delegation was led by Senior Deputy Executive Secretary Hubert Guevara and included officials from the Departments of Health, Trade, Education, the Interior, Foreign Affairs, and Agriculture. Sagip Party List Representative Rodante Marcoleta, one of the primary authors of the Vape Regulation Bill, which lapsed into law last July 2022, also formed part of the delegation.
Our controversial vape law, which they are so proud to present, is actually glaringly telling the first vape law that was enacted in January 2020 was reversed because before the age of access of vape was successfully raised to 21, that's before pandemic, January 2020, the restriction of flavors because the flavors are the ones attracting the teens and even advertisements are not allowed and even the point of sales. What happened to the controversial vape law is that from the age of 21, it went back to 18 years old. Flavors are allowed. Well, they say there should be no advertisement, but in the point of sales, they put online sales. Even in retail stores, this e-cigarette should not be there. But with the reversal of the vape law, the better vape law, if you're going to look around, our retail stores and even here in the provinces, sari-sari stores carry the e-cigarettes. And they are touting it as harm reduction. But actually, it is not really harm reduction. Me as a pediatrician, I will call it as a harm introduction or harm initiation.
Many of the staunchest critics of the new vape law are pediatricians because of the alarming pattern that has emerged since e cigarettes and other similar products became more widely accessible. In 2019, the Global Youth Tobacco Survey found that 14%, or 1 in every 7 Filipinos aged 13 to 15, were already using e cigarettes.
We are number one in Asia. So, and that is actually disgusting. And do you know that the Global Youth Tobacco Survey is nationwide done in public schools? What if you include the population of those who can afford the private schools? I think it could have risen more. And that survey is 2019. I think it could have been doubled with the onset of the pandemic because children are inside their houses. The main goal of the vape law, that controversial vape law, is to give an alternative to smokers for a safer product, hoping for them to quit. But what happens is that the bad habit is persisting. Now, the WHO has been monitoring, and now we're seeing even non smokers, the young adults, are jumping in using the e cigarettes. And sad to say, studies in other countries now they are seeing trends that these users of e-cigarettes, which were previously non-smokers, are turning to smoking. What happens is if they don't have money, yeah, then they go to the controversial conventional cigarettes, which is so sad because you are providing a gateway to a bad habit.
We'll pause here. Dr. Riz Gonzalez tackles disinformation about e cigarettes and heated tobacco products when we return. First things first, something we've all probably heard. Are vapes and similar products less harmful than traditional cigarettes?
If the conventional cigarettes gives 7,000, now John Hopkins in 2021 has discovered 2,000 dangerous carcinogens and chemicals like that of the conventional cigarettes. Now, it is too early. We cannot give evidence yet as to the harms of the secondhand aerosol, but you can see that it triggers a lot of allergies, a lot of asthma exacerbations in the young due to exposure to this electronic cigarette aerosol, the secondhand aerosol. Also, there are now developing studies that this formaldehyde and even other carcinogens are deposited in the walls of the home and in the surfaces and even in the clothes of the user. So if you carry a baby, if a mother is a vapor or a father is a vapor, and you carry a baby, even though if you're not using the e-cigarette, the carcinogens can be inhaled. Now, if you're going to look back at the history of smoking, it took centuries before the dangers of secondhand aerosol was given an alarm. Okay, that was in 1964.
In short, we cannot yet definitively say that there are less harmful chemicals in e cigarettes and heated tobacco products, or HTCs. But the information we have so far is not encouraging.
Electronic cigarettes, you can choose the strength of your nicotine. A conventional cigarette, one pack will deliver 20 milligrams of nicotine. You consume one pack. Do you know that one pod of electronic cigarette, which is just zero point 0.7 ml, laced it with flavor, a young person will never be able to detect that he can consume that in one city. And that's one pack of cigarettes. What if you consume about two products or two USB pods? That's two packs of cigarettes. Before we can say, oh, how many pack years have you been smoking? Because that's how we quantify your risk factor for cancer or any of those chronic lung diseases. We cannot modify it now because of the innovations and the deception of these emerging products.
When some of these products were first introduced, they were marketed as interim tools to help smokers quit cigarettes. But do they actually do that?
No, no. Since it was introduced in 2003, the smokers themselves, they are just shifting. It's actually a shift device and not a quit device. For the past 2 decades, electronic cigarettes are there. It has not been successfully used as a quit product. But the smokers, now the vapors, would always say, "Oh, I feel better. I can move on. I can run." And of course, because there are lesser chemicals, because their body has been desensitized. Now they are with the lesser chemicals. They can run. Their skin improves because there is no tar, but there are still the carcinogens there.
And then, of course, for the young, rather than reducing harm, health advocates say that e cigarettes have introduced it.
Now, you will ask me, why are we concerned about the age? Because 2 decades ago, it has been known the body matures at 18. That's why the legal age of driving, the legal age of getting married is at 18, the legal age of drinking is at 18. But why are we health advocates pushing smoking and vaping to 25 or age of 21 if you're going to go with the international trend of tobacco 21? Because there is a certain part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, which matures late. It is at age 25, so 21 to 25. So to go with the international trend, that's the US, it is at the age of 21. If a smoker uses that before age 18 or 18, it is still not mature enough. So there is more of that impulsive behavior, your learning, and even your behavior, your irritability. Nicotine goes there. So you depend on using a nicotine product for you to do stressful situations, to cope with stress. When you are addicted to nicotine, it is so hard to quit. That's why the long standing problem that even though they know, they cannot quit because quitting produces withdrawal, which is so bad. The number one misconception is safer. Safer. That R carries the risk. For children, it should be safe, no risk. So no cigarettes, no electronic cigarettes.
To make matters worse, quitting is significantly harder for children than it is for adults.
For children, we cannot use nicotine replacement therapy. For adults, yes, because the nicotine replacement therapy is not by smoking. It is due to the nicotine gum, which is slow and sustained at a lower, so that the withdrawal effects will be not as much as quitting suddenly or in other using drugs. For children, you cannot use nicotine in any form by gums. It is because even if it is just by the gum, it still impacts the brain. It doesn't have tobacco product. But what hooks a person to use cigarettes is the nicotine. Nicotine in any form, from conventional tobacco, is the same as electronic cigarettes, and even stronger because they have developed it into a salt. They put that benzoic acid so that it is less harsh. It can mix with flavors. You can conceal it in the device. So it's a misconception.
That leaves us with one pressing question: what can we do? On a large scale, advocates say increasing taxes on these products would do plenty to decrease consumption, as we've seen with traditional cigarettes. But for those looking to kick the habit, there are tools available to them that they might not know about.
For adults, there is the DOH quick line because they can give you the nicotine replace and it's free for Metro Manila. We're not utilizing it. We have a quick line. It is there in the lung center. You type it and it's going to see to give you the numbers. And they will be monitoring you until you are successfully off from the habit.
Dial the toll free number 1558 or visit the I'm Ready to Quit Facebook page to get started.
But for children, we cannot do that. We cannot give nicotine. We have to have behavior modification. And me as a pediatrician, the biggest stumbling block is actually the emotional dysregulation because it is developing. You want to experiment, you want to try, and then here is a substance which pushes you more. So you have to really, what is that, psychotherapy? You have to have also your parents to guide you. So it's complicated. So better do not fall into the trap. And if you fall into the trap, quit at once. Announce to the world, I'm quitting, so that they will encourage you, right? Use the social media. Protect the children. It's us. We are your future. Protect us with the laws and then call on our local government because we might have laws. One, they say there should be designated vaping areas. Oh, well, you see a lot of vapors around, unregulated. This e-cigarette should not be in sari-sari stores. No, take a picture, let's say, call on, tag your mayor, so that people will know it is not allowed. Even for school, it is actually a law. There should be no cigarettes, there should be no vape products 100 meters away, circumferential. So if a student sees that picture, this is not allowed. Why is it here? Call the attention, create awareness. We are your future. Do not make us your victims.
And that was today's episode of Teka Teka News. Again, I'm Bella Perez Rubio. Pedoy Blanco edited this episode. Our executive producer is Jill Caro, and our senior news editor is Veronica Uy. This story was produced with the support of Report for the World. If you found this episode useful, share it with a friend or two, and thanks for listening.